To the Merge podcast, the pilot episode. Put your hands up. Yes. Welcome, one and all. We are here live and we are happy that you have joined us. We see that there was about 24 of you waiting just for the room to open.
8:01 and they were already there.
Yes.
We were late.
Yeah. So we want to say hi, good night to each and every one of you. We want to encourage as we go on for you to put your messages in the chat, so that we will be responding to messages as we go on. Kareina, can you tell them what is tonight's topic?
Tonight's topic is marriage still worth it?
Yes.
Is marriage still worth it?
So tonight we're going to explore that topic. Is marriage still worth it? In this climate, in this context, in this millennial age, in this Gen Z age, is marriage still worth it? Is marriage still beneficial? And to explore that topic with us this evening, we have two beautiful guests with us. Kareina, make an introduction of our guests now.
This evening we have the lovely couple. They have been married going on 6 years in April and together 15 years. The very exquisite, special, dynamic duo of Josimar and Dione Vaal. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
So you all are here with us tonight on our first episode to discuss the topic, is marriage still worth it? And we just want to get right off the jump. What would you say are some of the modern threats to marriage?
Wow.
Fiery boy. Started one time.
Yeah.
Started one time. Yeah, so some of the things that are a threat to marriage is basically social media. Right? That is one of the top, I believe.
We are on social media right now, right?
Yes. So it have good and bad.
Right.
Where social media would give you good and it have the bad aspect to it, right? So I would say online relationships is one of the things that would affect a marriage. You know, comparing. You know, that comparing, watching other marriage relationships and stuff like that.
Grass green on the other side, kind of.
Yes. So that is one of the things that I believe. Yes.
And other things too, you know, if not properly managed, social media could be detrimental to marriage. And another thing that could cause that part of it is basically when you're in marriage and feeling like a drought. You know, the marriages go through sometimes dry spells, and it tends to get bored. And sometimes when you get bored, this is where the opposite sex comes in on the scene, and just to, you know, ignite that undesired romantic sexual desires.
So Dione, you said marriage can sometimes become boring. You can get bored in marriage. So the question is, you have a lot of young people probably online looking at us, and you know, you're married for how long now?
5 going on 6 years.
5 going on 6 years. I asked Dione that and not Josimar. I'm waiting to your eyes.
And you know, we just want to bring in even our online audience, of which there are 55 persons viewing us right now.
Lovely.
And persons are saying in the chat, Tanisha Muhammad is saying, work is a threat. Work to marriage, comparison and miscommunication. I think Josimar, you were talking about comparing and stuff like that, and that is a very real threat in today's society as well.
And also chasing careers, you know, we tend to neglect our family when we go after the money, and nothing is wrong with having and becoming comfortable. But you see, when it is to the detriment of your family, that is when it becomes a problem. So you have to have a balance.
Okay,
so
let me ask you. I understand you all have, and congratulations, I know that.
Thank you.
You have a bouncing baby boy.
Yes.
Beautiful. So share with us, being a married couple, both of you work.
Yes, we do.
So how do you practically get that work-life balance? Because I mean, it's easy to say work-life balance. It's easy to say, you know, we have to have that balance. But as young people aspiring in your careers, wanting to excel, and you have a family to maintain, sometimes it can seem almost impossible. So how do you manage with that?
Well, we are a team first of all.
I like that.
Yeah.
So yes, we both work. So if you come home first and I see where's in the sink, wash it. You wake up in the morning.
Guilty.
You wake up in the morning, you get up late, last, make up the bed.
Yes.
So it's a team effort. It doesn't mark female on the ways, female by the stove.
Gender roles.
You understand? So we have to be able to, share the chores. Because we both are tired.
Yes.
So if all of us come and just don't do nothing, what will happen?
Yes.
House will fall apart.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we need to be a team, and chores is not labeled male and female. It's both parties have to.
And mind you, we had that conversation even going into marriage. So
Okay.
it was one of those things that we transition easy. You when you reach home, okay, you see certain things to be done, you
You
do
do
it.
it.
Yes.
You do
do
it.
it.
So
And just 1 second, and even as Dione was making the point, the chores are not labeled male or
Or
female.
female, correct.
Today is International Women's Day, and we just want to wish even our women folk who are viewing online happy International
Yes,
Women's
yes,
Day, and we
yes.
thank you so much, Yvonne, for joining us. We have to say trending now.
Mhm.
So yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
you were saying, Jayden.
No, well, I wanna get right into the thick of
Get
it.
into the
I'm gonna hit them a curveball now. I hope they don't mash up the thing and make this thing go viral yet. Right? But I wanna ask you, as a young married couple, married 5 years, have a family, juggling, trying to get that balance, understanding the threats to marriage. Are both of you happily married?
Yes.
Yes.
Praise the Lord. Get a good answer.
Yes, we are. No joke thing.
Yeah.
We are, and at the end of the day, he allows me to be myself. He gives me space to be me
Mhm.
and to make mistakes and to just, work together. So I think that,
But mind you, we didn't reach this part of our lives just like that.
Okay.
Right? It had a pattern in our lives where in courtship was very difficult for us. We didn't see eye to eye,
Yeah.
all of that. So it was a learning experience
Mhm.
for us as going forward into marriage.
Yes.
And I would say even counseling would
Okay.
have helped, because
Oh, yes.
I was very reluctant as a guy
Mhm.
when I hear counsel.
Yeah.
I was very, why we need counseling for? We good.
Yes.
I said that. And it reached to the point where I enjoyed more than her.
Wow.
I really enjoyed these counsel sessions, and it have been an eye-opener for me, in us moving forward.
don't get me
in our
wrong,
marriage.
don't get me wrong, he's gonna vex.
Oh yeah. Come on.
He's gonna vex.
All right.
But at the end of the day, we all go back to that place of forgiveness and just working things through.
Working things through, yes.
Yeah.
And I especially like how they are being real this evening. We are not trying to show a fake narrative of anything that's happening, and like what social media would just show you, oh, the nice pictures, I traveled here with my spouse, I did this, look at the adventures that we're going on, and they are very adventurous couple. If you're just seeing them here, they are very adventurous as well. And that's an important point also that Josimar made with regards to counseling, because we just want to drop these gems quickly, that counseling is very important when you are going into that marriage experience, that journey, before you have decided to commit to this individual even. Because we as individuals, we have our own difficulties and traumas that we may be dealing with, and counseling can help us resolve and bring closure and foreclosure to those things before we enter into a marital relationship or union.
And I really think that courtship is where you make that crucial decision. Because if this is where again you have to ask the difficult questions, the hard conversations have to be, so that you would know whether or not you're ready.
Right.
Because if you don't deal with it before, it's going to rear its ugly head in your marriage, and you will want to know what is going on.
Of course.
If not properly dealt with, it may not be verbally spoken, but you would see it through your actions.
Yes.
Once your trauma and your unresolved issues are not dealt with, it could rear its ugly head.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with that. It's very, those online, it is critical before you set your marriage date, your wedding date, and these types of things. Seek counsel. It helps you, it builds the marriage, it sets a good foundation for the rest of your life. Advancing a little bit further, we want to tackle the question of tonight. Is marriage still worth it? And the context of this is this. We live in a time where men, sometimes they say, I looked at some of those gurus online, you know, and they said marriage is not beneficial for men. Why do you get married when a woman will just come take half your stuff and go with it anyway? It's advantageous to the woman, and you know, you have to provide for her, you have to take care of her, you have to do all these things, and then you get the raw end of the deal at the end of the day, and that's putting it in a Christian context, all right? And so a lot of persons feel that marriage isn't worth it. What do you say to that? Because, I mean, one would say that back in your grandmother's day, she got married and she got financial support from her husband. He would take care of her. You know, he cut the grass, you know, he need to fix a car. But with these modern men, it's happening now. Have mercy. Not Josimar. But these modern men have now, some of them can't pull a waka. They can't fix the car, they do no plumbing. Alright? And I mean, it even comes to a point sometimes, unfortunately, I have some of them who want to be stay-at-home husband. Alright? Now, I'm not bashing any stay-at-home husbands. I'm just sharing how society has moved.
Right.
And so the gender roles, because gender roles are changed now, it seems like there's no benefit because the woman is working. The woman is working and making her own bread, as they say. You know, she have her own bag.
Yes.
You know, she's getting her own stuff. And she seems to thrive without him. What do we say? So, is marriage obsolete?
Wow, Jayden, wow.
And this is your time. You can even comment in the chat while, you know, we are getting this dialogue going. Comment in the chat. Do you think marriage is still worth it? Dione, you have something to say.
Following God
Yes.
is always worth it. And when he has established something, it has a lot of great benefits. Especially because marriage and family is the backbone of society. So having a broken home, it just transcends throughout the community. So being married, there are many blessings in marriage. You know, you create, you know, well-rounded human beings to be upstanding in society. And, you know, for us, it's not obsolete. You know, and
Thank God for that.
Amen.
Amen.
yeah, and I think it really has to do again with your relationship with God and how you see
Correct.
your life, how you know, if you want to honor Him with your life, you would do the things of God that pleases Him, and that is why we got married. That is why I got married, because I know for myself I wanted to honor God in that regard, and I mean I never envision myself being married or a mother, but I kept an open mind.
Right.
Wait. You never envisioned yourself being married or mother,
No.
yet still you're here today.
Yes, and I'm
So
here.
tell me how that process took place. How did you come from a place of not seeing yourself as a wife and a mother to being a wife and a mother?
I just, like I said, I wanted to do and honor God with my life.
Okay.
And if marriage was part of that, if being a mother was part of that, I welcomed it. You know, I honored every part of my life. I honored my singleness, I honored my courtship.
Okay.
And if courtship had lead to marriage, which it did, then it was with everything that, you know, yeah.
Beautiful. I like how Dione took the question of is marriage still worth it and put the God spin on it.
Right, yes.
All right. You have something
No,
to tell
I was just going to say that as individuals, as persons traversing today's society, each and every person has a specific worldview that would center and anchor them. And we have that of a christocentric worldview whereby Christ would have set up the marriage institution and relationship, a covenant. And because we believe that, that is what we are centered in, and that's the point that Dione is, further making, that she wanted to honor God through her life and would have done that. Just before you say your point, we have to include the online audience.
Yes, please do.
We have Alvita Phillips Scarborough. Welcome. She is saying that marriage is definitely still worth it, but it's not for everyone. Some persons need to remain single. And Sister Abigail Reed is agreeing with her.
Yes.
And Denisha Mohammed says that, this is on counseling. Counseling reveals a lot about the person you intend to marry and raise children with. Marriage is definitely worth it for them.
Yes. And marriage to me is a commitment to God and to your spouse, right? That was something that resonates with me. Having that commitment, having that having go through that in terms of with me personally in my life, having just that commitment to God and to your spouse. That is one of the things that.
So I like
in marriage.
I like the trend of the conversation. You're like good churchy people, but permit me to be the devil's advocate because John knew it was going there. Because marriage is honoring God and all these things about God. What about the person who doesn't have that Christocentric worldview? Is marriage still relevant for the unchurched? Maybe for the atheist? Is marriage even still worth encouraging? So, if somebody doesn't subscribe to our worldview, or to a Christocentric worldview, or a worldview that proposes marriage, do you still say marriage is worth it?
Well, I think based on yes, you speak words, but your life have to show it.
Right.
Okay.
So, if you preaching and it is good and this and that, and your marriage and your life in shambles.
Don't say shambles.
It makes no sense. So while being a Christian, you have to live the life.
Okay.
You don't just speak it. And that is the first example, right? And two, yes, they may not share the same worldview, but you could reach them by just asking questions. What it is that you believe in, and ask and meet them there. We can't give a generalized advice, because it may not reach them. They might be like, what are you talking about? And they may totally ignore you or not take your counsel. So you meet them where they are, you speak to them, you find out.
What is the reason?
Yeah.
What is the reason?
Your perspective, how you got to this perspective, and you meet them there.
I particularly liked where you started, Dione. Dione started sharing marriage from a God living out God's purpose, but she also started it from a macro perspective, looking at the sociological side of the impact on marriage in society. And I like that personally for me, because I think, as you mentioned, marriage and families are the bedrock of society. The fabric of your society is told by what you see happening in the home. And when we have chaos in the home, when you go from school to school, I was speaking to a teacher the other day, a lecturer rather, and he was saying, he's a developmental psychologist, and what he was saying is that 9 out of 10 times when you look at bad behavior and you look at troublesome children who just not just make a mistake, but they perpetually give in trouble, he said 9 out of 10 times in his experience as a developmental psychologist, he says, look at the home. There's challenges in the home. And so in the Trinbagonian context, and I anticipate that we'll have people viewing from around the world, but in the Trinbagonian context, we have a decaying societal structure. We have crime, we have a lot of sociological ills, and it's not isolated to Trinidad, but around the world we have sociological ills. And I think part of that can be due to the breakdown in the home.
Yes.
But guess what? The breakdown of the home starts with the nucleus of the home. And in my mind, the nucleus of the home is the marriage. Right. And so you're like young couple and stuff like ourselves.
Very young.
Yeah, young in the game and stuff. And they always give the advice that when you have a child, still take time to focus on your marriage.
Mhm.
Because even though you're a big family now, it's all of us, it's 3 of you now, as this family, the family still has a nucleus.
Yes.
And if we neglect that nucleus, if we neglect the marriage, guess what? If, God forbid, divorce happens, the child acts out because of it. Society breaks down because of it. But that's speaking about divorce. But what about not getting married in the first place to deal with? How can that impact? And I'm throwing this question to those of you who are online. How can a population, let's just say Trinidad and Tobago, decides we're not going to get married? What are some of the ways that may impact our society?
Well, of course, negatively. 1, 2. Wow, Jayden.
I had to I mean, one of the things, sorry.
Yeah.
One of the things you brought up is children, especially. And for us, it is only when you're in it to realize how difficult it could be. And that you need that extended family. And we are grateful exactly for the saying, where they say it takes a village to raise a child. And it's only when you're in it you get to realize how important extended family is.
Don't forget to shout out, mommy.
Yes, I did know. So yes, so that is one of the things where that could hamper, because you realize that you have no time. You actually have to make time for each other, get that 5 minutes break. Normally we would come home and have a little discussion how the day was, little topics or whatever, and you realize once the child in that now, that's out the window.
Right.
You literally have to have time when he's asleep, to have those kind of intimate conversations, or go by grandma. So.
Yeah. So again, balance and the support of family and stuff, that's also important.
Beautiful.
Like you said, yeah.
Beautiful. So shit, that's lovely, because to think that you can raise a child on your own, you're gonna kill yourself.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get damaged in the process.
Yeah.
You need that support. Those of you, the question is online there. We're gonna take your responses in the chat. We have coming up a guru here is with us. He's gonna get us delving deeper into this topic. Is marriage still worth it? You can put your comments in the chat. We're taking it there. The question again is, how would society be affected should we as a society determine not to get married in the first place? Do we have any comments there so far?
We have comments, not particularly to that question, but persons are saying, a lot of successful people give credence to their marriage and choosing the right partner for their success. I want to thank my wife for being there for me during and being my support. You see those things in those books, acknowledgements, when persons are giving their speeches, stuff like that. So we see that success can be hinged upon marriage as well, and choosing that right partner to be with you. Somebody is saying that marriage has a great work in you. It humbles you, it helps you to grow and strengthens you. And of course, it removes that selfishness and replaces it with selflessness. Persons are saying marriage is not just a beautiful day, it is a big commitment and a lot of compromising. And if that is the work, God has to be the center.
Yes.
So we are seeing a thread coming through here.
That's beautiful. Thank you all online for the comments, the contributions. When I look at marriage and Dione really open up a can of worms there in terms of marriage's impact on society, it has me thinking the societal impact of being married, of being divorced, or of not being married altogether. I think if we as a society determine that we're not going to get married, one of the first in optics we're going to see is a lot of sex outside of marriage. That's the first thing first.
Yeah.
So you're going to have, let me use a big Bible term, you're going to have a lot of lasciviousness. Right? You're going to have a lot of that. I mean, we have a lot of that in Trinidad and Tobago already. But with the context of religion and the context of God and wanting to observe His statutes, you kind of save yourself,
Yeah.
you know, for that special one. Or, you know, even if you stumble and you didn't save yourself, at least there was a God conscience in your mind telling you, hey, what you're doing, you should kind of defer or deter from doing it. Yeah.
And there's even, I mean, this is not really societal, but more economic. There are empires built upon marriage, the institution of marriage. When I say empires, financial empires, the marriage industry is booming. So a lot of people will be upset if perchance Trinidad and Tobago doesn't enjoy marriage. Think about all the banquet halls, the wedding people, the caterers, all these people out of business, pressure, trouble, and just because of marriage. So there's the economic side of it too.
Yeah.
Marriage is no longer a thing in Trinidad.
What about Sabga and Abood and Kusals and all these names that have to carry on to generations? If you don't get married, who you passing it on to?
Right.
Yeah.
So you talk about, in the Chinese community, that's a big thing, and like dynasties, you know,
Right.
you hear about this one dynasty, and I remember looking at a documentary online where this restaurant and hotel was in this family for a couple hundred years. For a couple hundred years. And I was like, wow, a business in a family for a couple hundred years. That definitely may have been very difficult to accomplish if marriage wasn't a thing.
Yes.
How do you pass on inheritance? How do you divide inheritance? You know, I understand that the courts and somebody who's legal online, a legal mind, tell me online. I understand that in some jurisdictions, if you're married, the child when the woman gets pregnant and you go to the hospital, the child is automatically given to the husband, or the father rather, is automatically on the birth certificate. Whether or not it's his own.
Wow. Somebody rectify this for us.
They don't.
Rectify this for us.
The law of the land in those jurisdictions don't really care about your conjugal visits or whatever you would have had. What they're more concerned is both of you all were married, there's a child, we put in your birth certificate.
And even as you say that, in Trinidad and Tobago, do you know the mother does not necessarily have to go to register the child if the couple is married, the father could go and do it once they present the birth certificate. So that's another plus showing that Trinidad and Tobago, we still believe in marriage. We still have that standard of marriage within Trinidad and Tobago. And we just want to shout out all 104 of you who are viewing online at this time. We thank you for joining us. We have a lot of people here commenting on Sister White and the influence of the ordered home in the community. We have persons talking about even linking marital relationships and that family, and rather the breakdown of it to crime in society as well as what Jayden was speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mommy good son. You know? I mean, it is important. We can sit down whole night and talk about the importance of marriage, to have that man in your home, and not a man who just come and go.
Right.
You know, but a good man like Josimar. Come on, Ollie, say amen in the chat, man. Say amen in the chat. You understand? Not a transient, you know, type of traffic in your home, you know. But you have somebody who's there, who's stable, and I'm sure that as Josimar and Dione, they continue in their marriage and they hold on to God in their marriage, that their young son, is important for him to see that modeling of that behavior. Yeah. That is important because mommy will nurture.
Yes.
Mommy nice boy. Yeah. She just spoiled him already. She said yes.
Cannot cry.
Oh.
She said yes, when the mother said yes, I'll spoil him. So, you know, so the mother will give that nurture inside of it, but you really need a man in the home, especially for your boys, for the guy to, you know, to toughen up the boy a little bit, to show him how to push through in life and to persevere even when things get hard. You know, so when he falls down to get back up and not just wallowing in pity, oh gosh, my knee hurting me, you know, but the Father brings an essence and it's important. So those who may feel that they can go towards other methods of reproduction and devoid themselves of marriage, you know, in vitro fertilization and surrogate and all these new things. I'm not an expert on it by any means. But for those who feel that that may accomplish something for you, let me tell you something, is doing a great ill for society.
It's a disservice to society.
Yeah.
And we tend to see that once we stray from God's design, it would always collapse.
Yes. It will. So it's divine design.
Divine
Yes.
design.
Yes. So, Jayden?
Yes, so beautiful. I mean, we have to go to a break shortly, and we're going to go to the break. And coming up from the break, after the break, we have with us a guru. So we had our guest here I'm going to say this morning. We have our guest, Josimar and Dione Vaal, and coming right up next, we have Pastor Albert Brathwaite. Who is he? You'll find out coming up next.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And we are back with our guru, Pastor Albert Brathwaite. Pastor Brathwaite is the Family Life Director of the South Caribbean Conference, and we welcome you to our first ever The Merge podcast. And Guru, we are going to get straight in. We would like to know.
Thank you.
But before we get in, for those of you online, you do not know what the South Caribbean Conference is. That is simply the Adventist Church headquarters in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. And so Pastor Albert Brathwaite, he is in charge of the Family Life Department for the Adventist Church in Trinidad.
Yes, so he is a man we have specifically chosen for this evening.
Now, we took it easy on our guests.
Oh, boy.
But now this is the man that's supposed to have the answers. And so we're gonna start off one time.
All right. So, Pastor, do all world religions, practice marriage? That's the first question we have for you tonight.
All right. I must say good night to our viewing public, and good night to you both.
Good night.
I trust that God, He will take us through this. Do all world religion practice marriage? No. There are many world religions that do not even conceive marriage as something that is important or essential. In fact, during during the time that I took to look into this topic, I recognized that there's a church called the Church of Euthanasia. I don't know if you have heard of it. It's a church where they believe that cannibalism, wars, abortions, they justify just about everything that takes life, and the wars, pandemic, you name it. Chris Koda, he is the reverend and the founder of it. And well, of course, the only commandment in that church is, thou shalt not procreate.
Wow. Wow. Thou shalt not procreate.
Yes.
For those of you online, if you're hearing about it for the first time, just say me. Because I'm saying me. First time I'm hearing about this.
Church of Euthanasia.
Wow.
Google it, guys. Google it.
Well, euthanasia is more or less mercy killing.
Okay.
So they adopted that name, Church of Euthanasia.
Euthanasia. Right.
Oh,
right.
okay.
Euthanasia.
Understand.
Right.
So we because we had the discussions, we had our guests on prior, and we were speaking concerning if religion plays an important role in marriage, and understanding we get married from a God perspective. From this is the plan that God has for the world and for society. This is the mechanism or the institution in which procreation happens. And this is the whole structure of the family. But we are looking at reading the Bible. But the Bible was written in how much thousands of years ago in our Eastern culture, and we somehow translate this Eastern practice from 4, 5, 6,000 years ago. We translate it into our Western language and we say husband and wife, baby, family. I understand that Eastern families and stuff don't always work like that. And so how do we come up with our concept of marriage in a Western world from an Eastern religious society like Judaism? How do we get our concepts? How we translate it? Is it biblical the way we get married?
All right. Okay, if we go back, we need to look at there are cultural trappings, and well, of course, Christ, whenever he is found in an argument, that is debates, you would read Matthew 19, Mark 10, you would recognize that he went back to the beginning. So when he was locked in debate with those scribes and Pharisees about whether divorce and what you should divorce your wife or husband about, he went back and he says, it was not so from the beginning.
Okay.
He that made them male and female said, for this very cause, a man should leave his father and mother, cleave unto his wife, and they both shall be one flesh.
Okay.
So, in fact, if we want to understand, we need to go back from the beginning. The book of Genesis, it was written for the first 3,000 years of human history. In fact, I would not preach anything in any part of the Bible unless it is found in Genesis. That's the seedbed for theologians to find whatever God has there for us. And in that seedbed, it tells us that God, he created, first of all, the couple. Mm-hmm. And I like what Ellen White endorses by saying that there were two gifts that were given to the human family from the Garden of Eden. The first of them was marriage. The second of them is a Sabbath. And you would recognize by that, that's the reason why Satan, he wants to bring those two gifts to an end. The Sabbath, you know what he's doing with it. A number of preachers, they would stand up and they would say, there is nothing like the Sabbath. The Sabbath was abolished. But the truth is, it was one of those commands that God has written with his very fingers. Mm-hmm. Every other thing man wrote in the Bible. Mm-hmm. The 10 Commandments, however, was written by God himself. And you would recognize that he put that command, which is the 7th command, thou shalt not commit adultery. And his reason for so doing that is to protect the human family. That's his reason for so doing. And why? Because he knows that the human family will be under attack. Okay. I heard you ask the couple the question, if marriage is obsolete, it only have two ways, marriage. You can remain single, or there are folks who cohabit, or common law relations. But those folks need to understand that the very God who created man says that marriage is honorable in all. I'm quoting now from Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable in all. So in all the behavior and activities, marriage is honorable. And the bed undefiled. he went on to say, adulterers and whoremongers, God, he will judge. So if you're not married, of course, you should choose, of course, to have the gift of a eunuch, you see? Because adulterers and whoremongers, God will judge them,
Yes,
you
yes.
see? And why? Because marriage, it remains honorable. It is one of the institutions that God has first set up in the Garden of Eden, along with the Sabbath. And Satan, his attack is on the both of them. Marriage, Sabbath. And if he can cause that to break down, then of course, we will begin now to live by the laws of the jungle. And that laws is that you're breeding. And you're taking man's wife or spouses and just, having affairs and that sort of thing. And that is not what God designed for the human family. Why? Because when you look at children, he has given us children, and children spend at least 2 decades of their lives with the family. It is not like, the children, they grow up like the horses, and after a couple of months they're on their own, or the lion, they're on their own. No, they have to spend at least 2 decades with the human family so that they can be nurtured and they can be, well, of course, get ready for families of their own. But if that doesn't happen, of course, it's the law of the jungle, you see, and God doesn't want us to live that way. That is why marriage is still honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But God will one day judge adulterers and whoremongers.
Okay.
Let me.
So you said quite a bit there, Pastor. I am enjoying what Pastor is saying. I don't know about you guys online, but I'm eating up all the words. Very, very powerful stuff that Pastor said, but Pastor, I want us to, let's let the rubber hit the road now.
Yes.
We're dealing with a society in 2024 that's increasingly secular. We have people in our society discrediting the Bible as a storybook, as a book of fables. They're questioning the writings of Sister White. They're questioning the authority of the Word of God. They're saying there were mistakes in the manuscripts. They're discarding it all together. And we are becoming more and more secular as a society. As you say, and the rule of the jungle is starting to take over.
The laws of the jungle.
The laws of the jungle.
Yeah.
I like that one. I'll take it. The laws of the jungle is taking over.
And we can't forget our online audience. Carlos Valdez is saying marriage is not only a catalyst for salvation, but Pastor, marriage is also an agent of salvation.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
intended to be a picture of the gospel.
Well said.
Deep
Beautiful,
stuff,
beautiful.
Carlos
Yes,
Valdez.
because when you talk to marriage and you talk to the gospel, you would recognize that Christ, he used symbolism, and one of them is that he has betrothed us as his bride. And he will soon come back to consummate that marriage. So each time we get married, each time that we think in terms of marriage, we are thinking in terms of Christ's second coming. He's coming back. And he's coming back to at least to take his bride and to consummate his bride, you see. And so it is a spiritual, not only a physical setting, but marriage also holds spiritual implication. And hence God ties it on like that. And even Paul the Apostle, he says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loves the church and give himself for her, you see. So there will be problems because the church has an awful lot of problems. Does God give up on the church? No.
So I like what you're saying, that God doesn't give up on the church.
No.
Marriage has its problems.
Yeah.
And those aren't seen as deterrent factors from marriage.
Yes, a lot of them. If I should go at, permit me to go at a research that was done. This research was done in 2004 by Barbara Defoe Whitehead, It is known as the patterns and predictors of success and failure in marriage. And she identified quite a number of things that led to the fact or the breakdown that we have now. She looked at many nations, Sweden, Canada. She looked at America predominantly. And she says that in recent decades, there had been a dramatic change in marrying behavior today as compared to 30 years ago. Americans are more likely, 1, to live together before and after marriage, 2, to postpone marriage until older ages, 3, to divorce more and to remarry less, and never marry at all, 4, to give at any given age, individuals are less likely to be or have been married. The marriage rate reflects these changes. And so since 1970, the marriage has begun to plummet. That is what the social scientists, they have discovered. And they have discovered that it has fallen to the extent where now individuals they are no longer getting married the way they used to. Take for instance, if we look at the societies, and this will help us a little bit understand it better. You had, during biblical time, the simple family, the agricultural family, where husband, wife, children, they will go, they work together in the field, they do things together, they barter their goods and that sort of thing. And then, well, of course, that era, it came and it gone. The other era that came up was the era where the folks now moved to industries, large industries, revolution era. Yeah, when they moved to large industries, the husband now leaves. He leaves the home. The wife and children, they stayed at home. But that it lasted for some time, and then some of the wives, they became disgruntled. And why? Because the husband, he began siring different families, and so they became disenchanted.
I like how you polish it there, siring different families.
And so in the 1960s, you would recognize that the women folk now, they say, well, if you can have various families and you have the economic power in the house and you're doing as you like, we are not taking that. And so many of them, they began to make their exodus out of the home into the world of work. And now the child is now abandoned. Nobody thought about that. And so when we began to see a number of things breaking down in society, is simply because we have followed sometimes some plans that we ought not to follow. And so there was a breakdown, and with that breakdown, you find an awful lot of things begin to bombard the family. The child become latchkey children, where they will come home and take their food from the fridge, and they have time enough to spend with all kinds of stuff and do all kinds of things because the parents are not at home.
So Pastor, based upon what you're saying, that's a crucial point to make, the Industrial Revolution and how it took mothers and fathers out of the home, because we oftentimes only look at how it took fathers out of the home, but how it took mothers as well out of the home. And the question I think that begs is, we live in a society where, as we were mentioning before, women are now working, they are now earning, they are now, do you see marriage becoming obsolete in the fact that because a woman is now earning, she has her own ability to sustain herself? A lot of times we have to be real. A lot of times long ago, there were women who wanted to become divorcees.
Yes, but they couldn't do that because they didn't have the economic power or the economic capability to sustain themselves outside of when they got that divorce.
That's correct.
And I still have to be careful what I'm saying here now, but even in some communities in Trinidad and Tobago, different communities, there are cultures, there are persons who keep their wives, their spouses uneducated, and keep them locked away to have them subservient to them,
Yeah.
so they don't go. And so I'm sure I'm coming home and meet her.
Yeah.
Guess what? Because she doesn't have any means other than me. I am her breadline.
Yeah.
But we're now moving in an age where, by and large, women are coming out of that. They're breaking the mold out of that. Happy International Women's Day to all the women on the platform.
Happy International Women's Day to you.
And so they're breaking out of that mold. Tuning it in a little bit more specifically to the church, to Christianity. There are women even now who fear God, who understands His plan, but marriage doesn't seem attractive to them anymore. We had a guest here earlier
Yeah.
who said that she didn't see herself becoming a wife or a mother.
Yeah.
And I can share with you that that was Kareina's experience as well.
Yeah.
You know, when I met her, she didn't have marriage in mind at all. It was, you know, I'm going to work, I'm going to develop myself, we're going to grow together. She's going to grow into who she wants to become. So we live in a mindset where we can't say, this mindset is a secular thing. You see, that is not of God. You know, we can no longer hold that view. But we have women now who want to strive and be independent, who because of the atrocities that men would have perpetrated against them, and sometimes the fears of what they saw in their home, their family of origin, because of that, marriage is unattractive to them. What do you say to such a Christian young woman or a young man who's on the platform and has this experience? I don't want to get married, it's too much bacchanal. What do you say to that?
All right. Let me go back here to the research. The research, it has shown us that indeed it says, even during the recent decades of high divorce and rising cohabitation, the valuation of marriage has remained remarkably persistent. People still value the institution of marriage. Now, this is not a Christian thing. I'm giving you what is out there. The vast majority of men and women seek lasting marriage as a personal life goal. Indeed, the belief in marriage is stronger in the US than in most other developed countries. In the World Value Survey conducted between 1999 and 2001, only 10% of Americans agree with the statement marriage is an outdated institution, compared to 22% of Canadians, 26% of the British, and 36% of the French. So you see how it goes in different societies. So this study, even before you conceived, asking questions like these. And then they had findings. What allowed or what created the space for individuals to say they don't want to get married? The first that they give is parental marriage divorce. Individuals who grow in a married parent family are more likely to marry and to, I'm reading verbatim. Yes. Individuals who grow in a married parent family are more likely to marry and to stay married than individuals whose family were broken by divorce or whose parents never married. So if the parent never married, they will seek to stay single. If the parent had a broken family by divorce and what have you, they will not want to get married. And the state to which a country has come, many countries, it is undesirable for young people to just want to get married. Compared to individuals from disruptive family background, individuals who grow up with both married parents are more likely to have a positive experience of a marriage, to have a commitment to lifelong marriage, and to have mothers who are more positive about marriage and less permissive of divorce. And that is one of the things that I do when I'm counseling. I send the young man or the young woman to get a history of the family that he's getting into, so that he would see the dynamics. These dynamics, they're real. They're real. Yes, there are individuals whose parents were not married. My parents, they were not married. But thank God that I came into the church as a young man. And then, well, of course, 25 years ago, I married the sweetest singer on two legs.
Lovely,
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord.
Sweetest singer on two legs. And she's too sweet. She should have been a twin. She's a sweetest. So parental marriage and divorce is one of the factors.
Right.
Then there is the age factor, where there are individuals, those folks who have married in their teenage years. The teenage years is not a good time to marry.
Okay.
Why? Because human development begins in the back here, the reptilian brain, and it goes forward until, of course, the prefrontal cortex is developed. And the teenagers, they are more or less in the middle brain. There's where they get vexed fast and that sort of thing. They're in the middle brain. They haven't yet developed properly the prefrontal cortex that will be developed between ages 25 to 30 years old, or 25 to 28, some developmental psychologists will say. So another reason for a whole lot of breakups is the fact that they marry too early. And those are some of the things that ministers who are marrying folks, they need to be cognizant of. According to a recent government study, I know that my time will be up. I have a whole lot of stuff here. There's also the
Pastor, you don't worry, we'll bring you back on another time. You have a lot to share with our population, our YouTube community. Remember, those guys on YouTube, remember, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Right now, I must say we started this live tonight with about 13 subscribers. We just started this channel. We had at least 100 viewers tonight. We want to see at least 113 subscribers. Please
subscribe.
It'll mean a whole lot to us and for the ministry going forward.
Just the reason with regard,
go ahead.
With regard to subscribing, that way you can always know, and you can click on the notification bell so that you can always be notified when this channel goes live. So you don't want to miss next month when we are having our podcast again. To view live, click subscribe and click on the little bell that will notify you when we are going live once again. So it's for your benefit.
So Pastor,
I must, if you
don't
give any more time,
I
want to talk a little bit about religion, because that is
so I'm going to give you a question now.
That is very essential.
I'm going to give you a question now. The question I have, and it's a burning question in the chat here, and so I want to satisfy the community, all right? The burning question is, we're speaking about marriage in the context of Christianity, but what does marriage look like? Is marriage even sensible for the secular person? Does it make sense to get married, a secular person not involved in religiosity altogether? And we have that growing in society as well. Does marriage still make sense for such a person?
It makes sense, a whole lot of sense, and you have spelled out a whole lot of things, or benefits of that marriage. But remember that it came from a spiritual mooring. And if it comes from a spiritual mooring, of course, it ought to be a spiritual experience. And that is why it is so, very similar to the Sabbath, you know. Similar to the Sabbath.
Very similar.
A whole lot of punches.
Pastor,
I want just now. I told you.
We're gonna give you guys online. We're supposed to end 9 o'clock. You all say give Pastor. Let us know in the chat if they give Pastor the little time. I'll give him it anyway. Go ahead, Pastor.
Right. It has been said that religion, people who frequently attend religious services are more likely to marry and remain married than those who are not religiously observant. And I needed to give this, and the reason being is that I have to balance the equation. Marriage is a spiritual thing, and therefore it is spiritual. It is spiritual in that it holds Christ's symbolism, him coming back for his people or his church, and it holds also that we ought to love our wives just as he loves the church. And so religious institution provides a community of support and cultural refuge for married couples and their children. And because of that, and many other reasons. Religious teachings offer strong support for marriage and for the norm of marital permanence. I'm not talking here, this is a non-Christian talking here who have done research, you see. And so marriage is still honorable in all, the bed undefiled. But adulterers, whoremongers, God, he will judge. And bear in mind that those folks who say, well, okay, I would not get married, but I will just, do whatever I have to do. Christ says that all you have to do is to think upon and lust. And you have already committed adultery in your heart. And Paul says if it is better to marry than to burn, and therefore marriage is still honorable in all, the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge.
Thank you so much, Pastor Brathwaite, for coming and expounding the Word of God. As we bring a wrap on tonight's episode of the Merge podcast, answering the question, is marriage still worth it? From our guest to our guru, we have a resounding yes. It is a resounding yes. For those who are secular, you're probably unchurched, you're probably not affiliated with any religious organization. What we're saying to you tonight is that there are benefits. There are sociological benefits to society on a large scale. The homes, the children, they are benefited when there is a marital union there. And we're saying that there's economic benefits to be coming together. And of course, we cannot state, you see the dynamic a male and female brings. Josimar and Dione, pastor and his wife, we can tell you that nothing can match that balance when a male and female comes together. I believe that God made man and woman to be like a key and a key lock. Different, but very beneficial. And together, they can open a whole lot of doors. So to the secular,
Amen.
marriage is still beneficial.
Yeah.
It is still worth it on many different levels. But I want you to know that though you may be secular, marriage is an institution set up by God for the proper functioning of society and our home, for the proclamation of the gospel, for the reflection of God's image in humanity. And so marriage ultimately should take you on a spiritual journey. Again, thank you to all of our subscribers. Thank you to all of our friends. We thank Josimar and Dione for being here with us. Pastor, thank you so much for being here with us. It was a pleasure to have you. Guys, we're here again on every second Friday night of the month. Every second Friday night of the month, 8 p.m. Look at our socials. You're going to get the updates. Until next time, we're going to continue to be in happier together.
Happier with you.
Good night.
Good night.